I might check. You know, right? Might be a delay. Okay. All right, so put that on mute. All right, select. All right, so we're gonna be going back over numbers. Last time we went from 1 to 100. 1 through 10, and then 11 through 20, and we counted by tens up until 100. So now we're gonna go over 200s, not individually, but just we're gonna count by hundreds to 1,000. And then we're gonna give the understanding of what a million would look like in Hebrew. So, do we need a recap on what we did last week? All right, so I know we left off last time with 100 being ma'ah. 100, 200. That's kind of tight. We can fit that better. We can fit that better. Even fit 1,000. Let's go. Make sure you can see this all on camera. Okay. So now, you sure? Ma'ah. You know how to spell it? And the Syrian and Hebrew? With the green book. Still our green marker. And answers. You all right? You want to give it a shot? All right, so using the English characters first. You know what? I almost feel bad for making it this small. It's a lot. Again, OCD never hurts. You can stretch this class out a little bit, make this a little bit bigger for a better presentation. My conscience feels better that way. There we go. And that looks better on camera. Definitely looks better on camera. Nope. using the English characters first. Normally we do these in capital letters. So normally anytime we're spelling any Hebrew words using English characters, we do them all in capital just to emphasize, just to emphasize that we don't, in Hebrew, there's no capital or lowercase per se. You just have, if anything, got an emphasis. Make them big. We got one. First, it's like first do the Assyrian. Assyrian over here, and then Hebrew. Since we ain't got the green, so somebody stole our green marker. Somebody stole the green marker. Thought that would bring them money? I don't know. It doesn't work that way though. So we got 100, ma'ah. Everybody's gonna have their own little hand of penmanship here. But we're in the same ballpark. We're, if I were to look at the chart, I'd be like, yeah. So now we normally do it with maybe I'll work this up top. We normally start this off with the English equivalent to help us sound it out in English, so that we know what we're getting into here. This is how it would be expressed in the Assyrian dialect, in the Assyrian script. And now the brother's about to write it out in the Hebrew script, or the Hebrew penmanship. Other way. Yeah, the right thing going. Right track. There we go. No. Part of my name. I know by heart. Put me to remember. Now, do you remember the pronunciation markers? So now we in the paleo. Now you write it out. Add it to it in the red. Just so that the good folks at home that are studying along, they know what the what's connected and what would be pronounced separate.
We do this.
Nope.
We don't do it for this.
Just use the red though so it stands out. Okay. Looking at this, using this. Nope, they would not be connected like that. They both be pronounced separately. So now in the Paleo Hebrew script,
yeah.
There we go. You talking about 10th? Oh.
That put space.
I normally just use a dot. Oh, yeah. And to each their own. I mean, when you start running this black, you can teach by word ball. So you can't do whatever you want. Yeah. I might just put a dot in the middle. All right, yeah. So that's that. Clap that up. Clap it up for the brother. All right. So as he's demonstrating here, ma'ah is using the English characters for the pronunciation that would be familiar to us in this dominant tongue, in this captivity. In the Assyrian script, this is how it would be expressed, the ma'ah, and they use the right form of that ma in the beginning or in the middle of the word. In the Paleo Hebrew, we use the right characters here, ma and ah, and they are pronounced separate. That's what these markers indicate. If we had just one under upside down curve, they would be pronounced together. It would just be ma. But there is a separation. Ma'a. So now I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit. But it's good to get that muscle memory in. So ma. I should have alternated colors. And now for the paleo, or for both, same as it is with this, everybody's penmanship might be a little bit different, but for the most part, we should be able to understand what letters these are. Same thing with the Assyrian and with the Hebrew. So right there on the side. So now for the Assyrian script. Now, similar effect that I just got them saying, everybody's penmanship is going to be a little bit different. Maha. Ma. Same things. Sure that's translating okay. I'm about to figure out how to zoom in on this. And I'll step away after we continue this so that you can get just a clear view without me just bogging your vision. So we'll continue with now 200. Similar in effect on how we saw 20. We saw 1 and we saw 2. And then we saw 10 and then we saw 20. It's going to be a similar effect with 200. It seems like 2 is always going to kind of be that odd man out. You know what I didn't include on this is counting by thousands. We'll work on that too next time. Real quick, we're just going to get through these, and then, well, no, we should be able to fill that gap. All right, so for 200, 100 is ma'at. 10 was Aishra. Aishra. So that was 10. And then we saw the change with 20. Whereas 20 was going to be Ashari. It's like Ashari. 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 So that's 20. So now we saw what 10 was just Aishara. Now 20 was Aishariyan. It's going to have a similar effect with 100 and 200. Ma'at. You know, not the exact same equivocation, but a similar effect. 200 is going to be Ma'afim. Ma'afim. Might have to shorten this a little bit just to fit everything in. Right there. Ma'afim. Ma'afim. Stop.
Right.
Oh, that's great. At the end, Ma. At the end, in Syria. At the end, only at the end.
Wait.
Only at the end. Yeah. Look at it, he's back. Stop it 1 second. Use some wrong version. Count that on. What time? Or should we, like I should ask, are we doing Sabbath service here first and then rolling, or? All right, kind of. Oh yeah, I'm done. That kind of okay. I'm with it. Shoot our hat. Is he picking us up? Oh, email address. Okay. Yeah. So, right in 1 second. And one piece. Minutes. We get out of the way so y'all can get a clear view on what's going on up here. Of course, any questions, comments, or concerns, you can feel free to ask. Let's try to keep it on topic, on subject.
Because this would have been that.
It would have been if it were in the beginning or middle, just like the other guy.
Yeah. Shalaki, I don't know.
Yeah.
On the topic, did you hear about Iran piercing the dome of
The Iron Dome.
Yes.
The Iron Dome just got hit.
Yeah.
Arrogant sons of bitches.
Oh my God. I said, that means more than likely it's going to pierce America dome.
So now, America is, how would I say it? A lot of people want to propagate that America is and as susceptible to infiltration or bombardment as they might be. America always prepares for war. Now, they've learned their lessons, Pearl Harbor, even with Castro and who was that? Hussein, I think, in Cuba. Like they could have prevented that way before it happened, but there's a lot going on with the world powers, and they're not the only one. But they are blessed with the sword, and they are the baby of that great dragon. They're that little horn, yeah.
Which is Israel. Israel is the power play, and then America.
More or less.
So if they pierce America, I mean, they pierce Israel.
But again, arrogant sons of bitches. Now they had prepared for it for a very long time. They built up, a small country in comparison to America. But and they've been siphoning money and resources from America for a very long time. But America, paranoid, also arrogant, still very, very heavily fortified.
We're gonna talk about this after.
Well, no, now we're here. Now just real quick. Like they're gonna have their main hubs protected because America is so much bigger than just that land of Israel. America is so much bigger, so their main hubs are gonna have more of that fortification. So missiles are going to get through into what they consider, collateral damage. Not going to be that big of a deal for them of a loss. But they're going to want to protect New York and certain parts of Texas and LA maybe, like some of just their central points where maybe they've got their bunkers and they've got their high tech. So like for a long time, Milwaukee was very paranoid. Wisconsin was very paranoid because Milwaukee was an industrial complex for a lot of their military weapons. So yeah. Well, listen, the north side of Milwaukee ain't got nothing to do with y'all. The south side of Milwaukee, the east side, listen, you ain't gonna see us banging against Iran. You might see blacks and Hispanics in their military, though. I'm not gonna say don't defend yourselves, but they're not looking for us. But if they drop one in Milwaukee, that's it. If they drop one in Chicago, hell, that might be it even up here. They can damn near cover a state. And that's why we do even simple, fundamental things like this. Just getting back into our culture to bring our people back home, to raise that zeal so that we have a better focus than what our enemies are going through. Let them go through that war. We like us in the UPK, like pretty much all Israel. I don't want to speak for all Israelites because I'm sure some of them were in the voting booth. I'm sure some of them were on that chopping block. But if you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, you don't belong dealing with any of their politics. These are white people, white people problems. These are Edomites and Ishmaelites and Elamites and Moabites going at it. That ain't got nothing to do with us. They ain't call us into that war. That ain't our problem. It's not our problem what's going on between those different nations when Esau is oppressing them. They're oppressing us too. They oppress y'all overseas though. They're oppressing us here. Ain't none of you come over here to help us though. You sold us cheap fucking goods, bullshit food. It's like don't get me started on your hand in our slavery just because y'all make money off it. You weren't whipping the chains or cracking the whip, I should say, Salaki. You weren't cracking the whip, but you helped propagate the environment for us to live in poverty. So fuck y'all too. But don't come here looking for trouble, man. I'm gonna give you to the count of 1,000,000. All right, you understand? It is done. Lord allow. Let's get back to it. 300. Fun fact, the movie 300, written about the Spartans, right? Everybody remembers that movie? They said Sparta. That was us. That was us. We were those gladiators. Because if you know about the history of Sparta being built up as a nation, as a country, they came from the gladiator pits, from the military, from being involved in the Roman military. And after the subsequent fall, all those top fighters, top generals and shit formed their own thing. And I'm not sure, don't quote me on this. I think that might be like even where like the Moors kind of come from because it was a coalition. Because Rome had a lot of their slaves in captivity in their army. And then after we had conquered shit and they ushered in the Dark Ages, those Spartans, those so-called Greeks, those was niggas. So like that movie 300, like that was about our story. That was our story. But of course, it was all white people were the heroes. And those Persians and those Elamites and those Ishmaelites, they were all the enemies. They were all the devils. Fighting up against some the so-called white man. Get back to a 300. 3 of them things. Shalash. My wife. I'm just going to write these two out also. 500. Chabash. It's like Hamas. Our body. My wife. And then Hamas. My wife. So again, we got that 100 ma'a wife. So now wa kind of taking and. That wife can be used as a plural. It doesn't always have to be this. That wife can be used as a plural.
Sha'ash, Rash,
My wife.
Shala, Ma'araf, Ma'araf. Arba, Ma'araf.
And now let's see how congested we can make this. Actually, we might do a time.
Is that Cub Ma'ash number 500?
Yes.
3 would be Shalom.
Shalash.
Shalash. Orion, Arab, Arab,
Or by.
Arab.
By.
Okay. Because the two is connected. Arab.
Let's see how that looks on camera. Right.
R30,
Which one?
200. R30,
Ma'afium. Ma'afium. All right, so we got 600. 600, fun fact, that's the sequel to the movie 300. No? Wait. Okay. All right. Shouldn't be too many of those in the chamber, but I always got, yeah.
666.
Hey, yo. That'll freak some white people out. So now if you can see the pattern, we're just taking that root number, so 6 shashah, and then adding this form of hundreds as a plural onto it. So shashah, ma'awaf. 700. Shabai, my wife. 800. Shana, my wife. 900. Tashai, my wife. 1,000. Allah. 'So again, for anybody that just, might be joining in, like, why do you spell it like this? This is just to give you the phonetic representation in English characters. This is how we pronounce it, the little dots in between, just to kind of give those, separations between the different pronunciation points. To let you know what gets pronounced separately, what gets pronounced together. So when you see us writing in the Hebrew, maybe that'll start making sense. The Assyrian, Shashah Ma'awat. Feel free to adjust your penmanship at any time so that everybody else can read it. Nothing wrong with that. Shabai Ma'awat. Shana Ma'awat. It's actually a really good visual right there, too. Thashai Ma'awat. So I just got a little congested. I can redo it, though. Redo that, though. Redo that.
What do you got to do with the water cross?
Thashai. And it's still going to look a little bit muddy together, and that's all I can do. Or erase everything and do it all again, which is not in the cards. And then Allah. Now, do you remember what the pa would be at the end of a word? In the Assyrian, what form that would take?
So,
Right here.
so, I'm referring to part that thing being
One and then the other? Okay, that's fine. Let's see if you can remember how that looks at the end. So it look like in the beginning and the middle. That's an I. That's that guy. The other one that you're thinking of is Tazah. That looks like this. That's Tazah.
uh,
10 seconds. 5, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I got you. No sweat, no sweat. So in the beginning or the middle of a word, that pa is going to take on like that.
Yeah.
All right, now what's it look like the other way? There we go. There we go. That's exactly right. That is exactly right. And then it also changes the height of it too, because that would actually, this would actually be taller than this. So it would look more something like, again, that's exaggerated. I'm just gonna do that. It's it for me. Yes, that's exactly what that would be. At the end of the word. So now, Allah. Now let's let you know that there's a difference between all these. All right, so now back into the Hebrew, which doesn't take on those different forms, but this right here is actually kind of a good representation on some of the characters that might get confused. Oh, I actually forgot one. There we go. I feel better now. If you were to see these, like side by side, you might almost get that na and that wa mixed up. Or this ha and that tha mixed up. They share certain common kind of characteristics. Same height, slim profile. Now these two, damn near the only thing that's missing is that break right here, and then that foot right there. So that's a good example of some of those characteristics of the different characters that you might see that might be right next to each other. You might see them back to back. You might see them all all together in one lump sum. Plenty of examples of that in the scripture. So, we do this so that people can get familiar with position, height, profile, the characteristics that they share, what makes them different. In the Paleo Hebrew, we don't really have that problem. There are a couple of them that might make you look at it funny, but really, for the most part, the Paleo Hebrew is pretty simple to read. So that's just my over exaggeration of that swoop. You'll see that if you go to the Dead Sea Scrolls, you'll see that with the na and with the ma, they do kind of exaggerate that. Even in the Dead Sea Scrolls, when you look at the la, you're gonna see a pretty significant height difference versus in the Torah that we read today. It's a lot more subtle. That la, it's a lot more subtle. And then the other characters, the wa and the na, height change very subtle. That's in the Assyrian. Worry about that another day. You can join us tomorrow for Sabbath service, and we can get into some of that if necessary. Otherwise, stay tuned. So Shabbat. No, I didn't. My wife. Shana. It almost sounds like how Christians speak in tongue. Shamana. Shamana, Shamana. Shamana, Amana, Amana, Shamana. We're going to help them out. Shamana. My wife. The shy. My wife. Can't stress that enough. And Allah. Separate these. Shy. My wife. Shabbat. My wife. Shamana. My wife. The shy. My wife. Allah. Now you're going to see a recurring theme where, for the most part, not every time am I going to drop an eraser, but not every time are you going to see at the end where they are pronounced together. For the most part, though, in the Hebrew, you will see that correlation. You will predominantly see that at the end of the word, those last two characters are pronounced together. for the most part. Just don't look to use that as, I mean, it's kind of a rule of thumb, but identifying that will, come with experience. So now that we're here a lot, to express 1 million, that's where we can just kind of jump to that real quick. Get a body one. And this will help you more if you're writing it down. Okay.
That's all I got all the leads. And I got the preposition and the positive ending and before root preposition before root. I got all of it.
So one example I just want to show real quick. So for 2000, well, all right, so we got this. So a lot is our 1,000. A lot. A lot. A lot. Not a lot. I'll go to the strip clubs. A lot. Focus. Focus, guys. All right. So now, going in that same tradition of we've got our tens, and then 20 follows that. Aishara. Shariam. $100. Mal'ah. What's 200?
Arshim Mullah.
No. Just guess it. Look at the picture you took.
Mullah.
Say that again.
Malatium.
I can't hear
Malatium.
Are you saying Malak?
Malat.
There should be a la.
Malatium.
Let me see what you wrote. Well, I mean, you didn't write it, see the picture of it, but
Malatium.
there's no la in there,
I'm
though. No I.
ma I malak malak
There's no la.
I'm
No I. Read it. 100 is ma'ah. So that's still in 200.
I'm
Ma'athi.
Ma'atim.
200 is ma'athi.
Malatia.
You're still saying la. You're throwing one of these in there. Don't take that up. Don't take that up. So ma'athi. But we're seeing a pattern on 10, 20, 100, 200. Aishura, Asarian, Ma'athi. So now if we got 1,000 as Allah, based off of the pattern that we're seeing here,
Alatia. Alatia.
close. It's going to be Alakia
Alatia. Alatia.
without the thug.
Allah, Latia. See, I always put that as L, and
Yeah. We can't do that. So now 3,000.
Latia.
The locking is 2,000.
Latium, 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 Latium.
No. You're kind of on the right track with how you would pair it together. Because when we start expressing larger numbers, that Hebrew is going to get kind of long. For example, if we go to Exodus chapter 32, verse 28. You're going to see it say, it's going to say about 3,000 men, right? If you could, Rapat, get a Torah. Oh, sure. It's going to say, and open that up to Exodus chapter 32, verse 28. See it? Kashalash. It's like a Kashalashaf, Alapia. For about 300, or it's like about 3,000. The man is Ayash, Aqua. You can read this as in the scripture. Now, if we look at, again, 3, Shalash, Alap is 1,000. Yom gives us plural. Shalash, Shalak. Because we're skipping the about. We're getting straight to the number. Again, a lot of that might be circumstantial, depending on the context of the scripture. Because that had a I don't want to say prefix, but it had a preposition to it. That come. And it had that possessive noun. And the. So that changes the sentence structure of it, or the context. But when it was given that number of the men that were in that count. Kashalah, Kashalashah. But Shalashah, rocking. Let's see what 4,000 would look like. We're going to see the same pattern. Four thousand is going to give us our bayat. Damn, I didn't even spell it out the other way before. So I'm going to move this down. Our bayat. Our bayat.
Because bar was 400.
Our bayat. Well, our bayat was 4.
400 was our Wakim.
Karubai, it was Arubai Ma'awaf. Arubai Ma'awaf. So that should be slightly Arubai Thumb. That's why I spelled it wrong. That's why it's so weird. My fault. Or by thumb. It's like Allah. Young man, if you look at the scripture here in this number, First Samuel chapter 4 and 2. First Samuel chapter 4 and 2. It's going to read at the end, in the field, about 4,000 men. And then their use, 4,000 here, is allotment. So now what's that going to look like? Because again, we're skipping this. We're skipping this. That's just how that needs to be to fit into the structure of the story in the field about 4,000 men. If you got our buy for 4, a lot for 1,000. Allotment for thousands, plural. The search that we've been going by using that root number attached to the plural form of the 10, hundreds, and thousands places.
So when we was in Syrian and Hebrew, it was skip cub and love. The. It was skip.
If we're just using the numbers. But it looks like the different applications of this. Things could look different. So, First Chronicles, let's take a look at that. First Chronicles chapter 12:26. Actually, it looks like this may take on that stuff. I'm just saying not in this case, because that was, sorry, there's something else I got to double check on now. The way that this number was used in the previous verse in 1 Samuel, it was saying about 4,000 men. If we look at its comparison in 1 Chronicles, chapter 12, verse 26, we can see a slight variation. It has all of this except for the cut. Because again, it started off with about 4,000. So when we're counting a lot of these, it's going to be, it might be spelled out more like this. 4 and 200 and, that's not how you spell it, yeah. 60 and, I got it. And 1. My fault. That's what I'm going to say. 4 and 2,061. So that would be 4,261. Because how they got it written here.
$4,261.
My fault. I'm confusing myself because some of the compound, like when we're going like big numbers, this whole thing gets strung along. So Salak, I might need to tighten up on this. How we would display some of the larger numbers when it's not just 4 and a bunch of zeros. 4, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so that's probably what I was thinking of. So
4,000.
so 4,000, 4,210. Because what messed me up here, Slack to the minimum. What messed me up here, and this is my fault.
But if you're doing it 1-1, it'd be 10 and 1. Because if you're doing it 11, it would be 11. It would be 4,200.
No, but I'm thinking, all right, so just like the one example that I had that was coming off of a brother's action class about it. So he had written out $757,952. So now this would look like Shabai Ma'awath Wa Kamachim Wa Shabai Alapium the Shai Ma'awath Wa Kamachim Wa Shanyam. So that number turned into a series of characters going all the way over here. So Salak and Tembet Mummy, I butchered that one. That was my fault. But just to skip to the end because we were talking about going to 1 million, we'll cover. I'll do some more work on this. We'll fill in those gaps. But to express 1 million, just like they say, 200,000. What do we say? When you say 200 million angels come with that, because the scriptures say 200,000 thousands. So 1 million is 1,000 century time, 1,000. Or 1,000 thousands. So that's a lot. It's like I get a message. So 1,000 thousands. That's gonna be a lot.
Lock the door.
I got you. Fix them up. Lock. Lock. 1,000 thousands. Because again, we remember from just 2,000. Lock. Failure. Lock. The numbers might get a little bit crazy. Almost seems easier to write it out in English than what it's gonna look like in the Hebrew. Because the way that it's expressed, especially with those larger numbers, in so intricate. Like that example, 757,952. We almost say similar in English out of habit. I remember when I was a kid, if we were to say, 103, they looked at us wrong because it should just be 103. 103, not 103. But you're not wrong. You're not technically wrong for saying 103. Because that's the number that's also being expressed. It's, you got 100, but there's also 3 there. So stay tuned as we work out these kinks, get in contact with the different zones, their different classes. The UK, the brother Rob does an amazing class. Hazel Hobbs, like everyone has a Hob out there in Harlem, another amazing class. Texas, Virginia, Philly. Got a lot of different zones that just better versed. So in Milwaukee, join us next week. We'll fine tune this, work out any of those kinks. Join us tomorrow for the Sabbath service. That'll be the end of this session. Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yeshua. Thumb to the brothers. Yahweh Shemar Latam Bashem Yahshua to the sisters. Shalom.